Over the last couple of years, the American Press Corps has lectured us about misinformation and disinformation. I didn't talk about it last week. It was in the stack of stuff, but I never got to it. Axios did a story. It says the amount of media coverage of misinformation and disinformation is in decline. People do not seem to care. You know what? The people who are generating and disseminating a lot of the disinformation and misinformation out there right now are the reporters. In fact, much of what you are hearing about immigration are regurgitated left-wing press releases. Here's a story from NBC News. Here's the headline: U.S. citizen children, including 4-year-old with cancer, taken to Honduras on mother's deportation flight, legal advocates say. 2 siblings, ages 4 and 7, were flown out of the United States on their mother's deportation flight before attorneys could reach them, according to the National Immigration Project, which is a left-wing site. Now, you need to understand that the original story, in fact, you can see it if you clicked the URL. Here's the URL is the web address. This is how it was originally reported by NBC News. 2 children, U.S. citizens, 4 and 7 years old, deported. That you can see it in the URL. That is how the story was originally framed. The 4-year-old and the 7-year-old American citizens were deported. In fact, when I first heard the story that the government had deported 2 American citizens, you know what my first reaction was? That's not possible. That's not possible. American citizens cannot be deported. In fact, Marco Rubio was asked about it on Meet the Press yesterday. He says it's not true. These children went with their mother, who was deported. She was an illegal alien. Their father is an American citizen. The children were not returned to the father's care. I do wonder why. I have no knowledge of the situation. I don't want to speculate, but the children could have been left in the care of the father. One of the children has cancer. The young child has cancer. The 4-year-old has stage 4 cancer. It's a rare cancer. And was sent to Honduras with his mother. Lawyers are trying to get him back for treatment. I don't know the underlying facts of the case. The media clearly doesn't know. But if the children weren't left with the father, there might be a story there. I don't know what's up with the dad, that they went with the mom. I don't know where the father is, but they weren't deported. Their mother has guardianship of them. It seems the media just refused to report the story accurately. You can't believe the media story. And then there's the judge, Hannah Dugan. Hannah Dugan is the judge in Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge. She has been arrested by the FBI, and good riddance. Now, the media story on this, the media take originally, was that a judge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was arrested for failing to cooperate with immigration and customs enforcement. That was the way it was originally reported last week. The media that lectured us on misinformation and disinformation ran stories claiming this woman was arrested for not cooperating with ICE. Do you know why she was arrested? It's not because she failed to cooperate with ICE. She was arrested because she actively interfered with an arrest. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan had a man in her court on was it Thursday last week, and ICE showed up to grab the guy to deport him. The judge escorted the man and his lawyer out of her courtroom through the jury door last week so that he could evade being arrested by the agents who sought to deport him. He is an illegal alien. He was to be deported, and she aided and abetted this man escaping. No one is above the law, ladies and gentlemen. It is against the law to help an illegal alien aid and abet escape from deportation. She was arrested for it. She is no hero. She is no martyr. She ignored the law. Now, what's so funny is protesters gathered outside the federal courthouse in Milwaukee on Friday to protest her arrest. They're all a bunch of old white people. It's all a bunch of white people who showed up. Hannah Duggan herself looks like the sort of woman who would have harassed you during COVID for not wearing your mask. Looks just like that you know the type. They'd come up to you in Walmart when you weren't wearing a mask, and they would belittle and harass you and film you for not wearing your mask. We need to find out who this person is who isn't wearing their mask. She looks exactly like the sort of person who would harass you. She looks like the sort of person who will get on a plane right now in the year of our Lord 2025 wearing an N95 mask so she doesn't have to breathe your germs. She looks like a good progressive. On Saturday, protesters chanted, "Immigrants are here to stay," and held up signs saying liberty and justice for all. No, illegal immigrants are not here to stay. This is the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, at the White House. She is claiming she's ready to go. They're having deportations that are they're going to escalate the deportations in the country, according to the Trump administration. Tom Homan and Carolyn Leavitt at the White House.
The Trump administration is working 24/7 to successfully arrest and deport these illegal criminals and foreign terrorists from our communities. We are in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. Over this past weekend, it was announced that through Operation Tidal Wave, a joint effort between ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement agencies, nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days alone. Among those arrested were a Colombian murderer, alleged MS-13 and 18th Street gang members, and a Russian with a red notice for manslaughter. And on the other side of the country, in the early Sunday morning hours, DOJ and DHS together launched a joint raid of an illegal alien underground nightclub used by Tren de Aragua in Colorado Springs, Colorado. DHS took more than 100 illegal aliens into custody, and many drugs and weapons were also seized. Operation Tidal Wave is a preview of what is to come around this country. Large-scale operations that employ our state and local enforcement partners to get criminal illegal aliens off our streets. As always, President Trump and our entire administration are grateful for the courageous law enforcement officers who are putting their lives on the line every single day to protect their fellow Americans and to keep our country safe.
That's the White House press secretary, and this is Tom Homan at the same press conference.
First of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States? At least 20 million. People say, where'd you come up with that number? We've been speaking about 12 million for 20 years. We know we got 10.5 that we know of came to the border. How many don't we know of? I talk about known gotaways at 2 million. How many unknown gotaways we have? Like between the Big Bend sector in Texas where there's no technology, how many 1,000 people did across through there? We wouldn't know. We would know now. But, so I would venture over 20 million. But your question is, last count, last I looked, there was about 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal charges walking the streets of this country. 700,000. And that's what we're looking for now. That's what we're prioritizing, them and national security threats.
This judge in Milwaukee probably thinks she did a good thing. Good progressives think this woman is a hero. What she did is she aided and abetted an illegal alien. Why was he in court anyway? He was taken into custody after agents chased him on foot. Her supposed good deed amounted to nothing. She was taken into custody by the FBI Friday morning on the courthouse grounds, according to the U.S. Marshal. She appeared briefly in federal court before being released from custody. She faces charges of concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest and obstruction or impeding a proceeding. Judge Dugan wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. It was not made in the interest of public safety, says her attorney. Democratic Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers attacked the Trump administration's dangerous rhetoric. Court papers, according to the Associated Press, suggest the judge was alerted to the presence of ICE agents in the courthouse by her clerk, who was informed by an attorney that they appeared to be in the hallway. The FBI affidavit describes Dugan as visibly angry over the arrival of immigration agents in the courthouse and said she pronounced the situation absurd before leaving the bench and retreating to her chambers. It says she and another judge later approached members of the arrest team inside the courthouse, displaying a confrontational, angry demeanor. After a back and forth with officers over the warrant for the man, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, she demanded that the arrest team speak with the chief judge and led them away from the courtroom, the affidavit says. After directing the arrest team to the chief judge's office, investigators say Dugan returned to the courtroom and was heard saying words to the effect of, "Wait, come with me," before ushering Flores Ruiz and his lawyer through a jury door into a non-public area of the courthouse. The action was unusual, the affidavit says, because only deputies, juries, court staff, and in-custody defendants being escorted by deputies used the back jury door. Defense attorneys and defendants who were not in custody never used the jury door. A sign that remained posted on Dugan's courthouse door Friday advised that if any attorney or other court official knows or believes that a person feels unsafe coming to the courthouse to courtroom 615, they could use Zoom. By the way, the guy was in the court because he was charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor domestic battery. Confronted by a roommate for playing loud music, the illegal alien fought him in a kitchen and struck a woman who tried to break them up. Another woman tried to break up the fight and called police after getting elbowed by Flores Ruiz. He faces up to 9 months in prison and a $10,000 fine for each count if convicted. So he was there for beating up women, charges related to beating up women. And the good progressive judge helped him escape so he could not get deported. And she and progressives think she is the good guy in the situation. She couldn't be more wrong.